Emisiune realizată cu sprijinul Camerei de Comerț și Industrie a României.
Bună seara, dragii mei! Bună seara la o nouă ediție Ambasador România. Este o ediție specială, o ediție dedicată ambasadorilor în general, diplomației în general, diplomației economice în special. De ce? Pentru că, spre deosebire de formatul standard, astăzi ne aflăm la Camera de Comerț și Industrie, filmăm de aici, pentru că au un eveniment extrem de important, Gala Ambasadorilor. Sunt prezenți majoritatea ambasadorilor care sunt acreditați la București pentru a onora, dacă vreți, relațiile economice cu România. Unele țări au relații mai strânse, alte țări au mai puțină activitate economică în România. Însă cred că este foarte important ca în acest context extrem de dificil la nivel european și global să ținem sau să avem o diplomație economică cât mai activă. România trebuie să facă acest lucru, trebuie să țină cât mai aproape de misiunile diplomatice, să-și promoveze interesele economice, pentru că fără economie, fără o economie puternică, nici securitatea nu poate să fie una la fel de puternică. Pentru, ediția de astăzi, pentru emisiunea de astăzi, avem la Camera de Comerț, în această cameră extrem de frumoasă, în acest mediu extrem de plăcut, câțiva dintre ambasadori invitați. Unul dintre aceștia este un foarte bun prieten de-al meu. Este ambasadorul Ungariei, îl cunosc de 15 ani. Este vorba despre Zakoni Boton. L-am cunoscut când era secretar 2 la Ambasada Ungariei la București și în ciuda evenimentelor care au trecut, nu ne-a despărțit nimic, ci ne-a adunat. Prietenia noastră a fost una mai puternică, indiferent de momentele care au existat între România și Ungaria. Acum l-am răpit de la eveniment, l-am adus la emisiune și, fiind un prieten vechi, nu a putut să mă refuze. Boton, thank you very much for being here, Mr. Ambassador, now, because you are not second secretary anymore, like 15 years ago. You are now an ambassador, the ambassador of Hungary to Romania, and our friendship is so long that we feel old already. But thank you for accepting, and I want to ask you something which is very important for the Romanian citizens. And your message for sure will be well received, or will be interesting for them. How are the relations, from your perspective, the relations between Hungary and Romania now? And because we are here at the Chamber of Commerce and we speak about economic diplomacy especially, or the importance of the diplomacy in making business, how do you appreciate the relations between Hungary and Romania in general, and particularly with regard to business?
Well, the Hungarian-Romanian relation is a very complex relation because we are neighboring countries. First of all, but we are in the European Union, NATO together, which brings us ever closer, obviously, which is very visible. I mean, we feel it almost every day in diplomacy. But still, there are issues which are how to say? I mean, sort of sources of an eternal. I shouldn't call it debate, but still, we do have different approaches, like cultural heritage, for example, to put it bluntly. The status or the well-being of the minorities, I mean both the Hungarian minority here and the Romanian minority, which is a smaller scale minority, but still very important in Hungary. So I shouldn't go into details of the complexity because you emphasized the importance of the economy, and we are in the Chamber of Commerce of Romania, with whom we have a, let's say, very fruitful cooperation. So I would rather focus on the economy and the achievement of the last 25 years. Or just let's focus on the last 50 years, since we know each other. Because I mean, the numbers are important, obviously, and the numbers are growing, and the relation is developing, and we can be, I mean, both sides of the border proud of them. We are very important partners of each other, both export and import and investment. Last year, the total of the exchange of commerce reached or went beyond 7 billion euros, which is very important. So we are really important partners for each of us. I mean, for us, Romania is the third export partner. It's only Germany and Austria.
The third one.
The third one as a market, let's say. And we are in a very open place on the Romanian target countries of the Romanian export, which is very good because that's bound together both the investors, I mean, all the actors of the economy and the workers and the consumers and everyone. So
practically, Romania is a very important market for your products.
Yeah, exactly.
The third market.
That has a longer tradition. So that was the situation 50 years ago. Now the balance is I mean, the situation is much balanced, and Romania, I mean, Hungary is getting a more and more important market for Romania as well. And I'm very happy about it because that's important. I mean, this interconnectedness.
Yes, it is actually. It's more important than anything else, if you ask me. The economic ties are solving also other problems that you mentioned earlier, and we will not go into details because we want to give a positive message, and the importance is of cooperation. We need to focus on what is uniting us, not what is dividing us.
Well, just something about what is dividing us. I mean, basically nothing is dividing us because we are ready, the Romanian partners are ready to talk about everything. Actually, I'm not really sure when this program will be broadcasted, but as of today, tomorrow, we will have a ministerial visit. In 2 weeks, we will have a joint economic cooperation council between the two governments. So, I mean, we are really ready to sit down and talk. And there was obviously in Romania, I mean, there's a new government, a technocrat government, and every change in the politics offers a possibility to, I shouldn't call it a restart, but at least a boost of the bilateral relations as well. So I'm not looking for very much for a positive message because I mean, we are positive and we really see the possibilities to deal with and what to develop.
Sometimes some politicians make our life more difficult from our side than from your side. But from the economic point of view, if we go back, you mentioned Romania is the third market. What kind of products do you do? I mean, what are the most important products you export to Romania?
In that huge volume of export, we can find almost everything, starting from agricultural products till cars, for example, or almost everything we are producing. But it's very interesting because what we import from Romania is almost the same. It starts from agriculture till
I was about to ask you what do we export to Hungary?
That's interesting. So that's interconnected. That's because the merchants and the businessmen who are interested in export and import, they find the niches, which is cheaper and where it is cheaper. I really have all the data of the export and import. It's very, very similar to each other.
Mr. Ambassador Boton, let me ask you, because as we are friends, we can call each other like that. But you are the ambassador of Hungary now. Tell me, how do you see the relation between the minority living here and the majority living here? And I'm sure you traveled in those areas. You are keeping in touch with them. We are keeping in touch with the region as well. And besides other type of messages, which are mostly political, how do you see as a diplomat the living together of the same people, but the two different ethnic origins? Well,
when I travel through the country, especially Transylvania, the day-to-day living together and the people-to-people living together is not a problematic one, and it never was, obviously, since actually, I mean, these two nations, the Hungarian and the Romanian one, are really overlapping each other. I mean, living next to each other in a huge territory and for a very long period. I shouldn't start counting when did it started, because then we are in the middle of the historical debates. And there's those historical debates, what we had and what we still have in some time, are not really helpful to see the everyday reality. So when you see the reality, that's European, let's say. Because I mean, Europe is a very diverse continent, and you can always find the best and the worst examples in the European Union as well. But since I'm a diplomat, but I'm a Hungarian diplomat, so I have to emphasize those issues which are the topics of discussion between us and our Romanian colleagues, the Romanian diplomats and the Romanian authorities. For example, the use of the national symbols. I think in the European Union in the 21st century, it shouldn't be a problem to use or wave or just have in your hands or even to put it places which are important for you, the Hungarian national flag or a local flag, which is the Stagul Secuiesc. I mean, why not? If you go to an Italian city, I mean, it's full of flags representing national, local, regional, whatever identities. So that's an issue. Or the linguistic rights. I mean, Romania was one of the first country, and this is very important, which has adopted the European Council's recommendations on minorities and linguistic rights. But still, there are settlements, and this is what I really see when I'm traveling across that region, where the Hungarian minorities proportion is higher than 20%, and the recommendation said when it reaches 3%, it should be double. I mean, use yes, the language of the minorities, and it's still missing. There are several cities. Just imagine, let's say, no, I shouldn't say, because there are several big cities, and I'm happy about it, where the proportion of the Hungarian minority is higher than 20%, and you won't really see, or you see some inscriptions, but not all the streets, for example, or the squares, or all the official institutions. These are obvious concerns for us.
Yes, no, I understand very well what you mentioned. Of course, you mentioned that you're a Hungarian diplomat. I'm Romanian, and usually it's good to agree to disagree on certain issues. We between friends, it's allowed. I agree with you that sometimes maybe these are sensitive issues for your state and our state, but still Romania remains a model of treating minorities. If we look around Europe, as you mentioned, we see from worst to best. Still, Romania was the country and is the country which encouraged the minorities to be in the parliament. I'm not speaking only about the Hungarian minority. The Hungarian minority was in the government almost all the time between 1990 with MRE, with your representatives of the Hungarians in Transylvania. At the same time, maybe some of the recommendations you mentioned are not put it in practice. But I think that I don't want to provoke you, but at the same time you mentioned the flags, and here I don't think people would have a problem if it wouldn't be emphasized in an aggressive manner. The attitude of some of the leaders locally make the reaction of the majority to be sometimes more strong than it should. Because it's one thing to make it as normal as possible, and second to make it as let's say as an aggressive gesture, with demonstrations and so on. It's just a concern for our side. For me, I don't have a problem. Why not? Each local community, even my hometown Caracal, should have its own flag, and we have our own flag actually.
Well, I mean, around the country, several regions, both historical regions and let's say newly created regions, because we are in a ever-moving environment. So identity is something sometimes flexible.
Yes.
So any community and any country can have its own symbols. That's very true. You are right. Still, in brackets or in a very concise way, I should emphasize that we think and we support and we ask Romania and the Romanian authorities, whatever government is governing the country, to try to have the best practices of the European Union. Because that's it. Just to see the Finnish minority situation in Sweden,
yes,
that's a positive example.
It is a positive example.
Just to mention one. Just let me finish. in yeah, okay, let's stick to the Swedish minority in Finland. Finland is officially the Swedish language is an official language. So everything they prepare, they announce, which is official. It is always in Finnish and in Swedish as well, where the Swedish minority consists 6% of the whole population. Is exactly the number of the Hungarians of Romania.
Well, it's a good example you give me. I can give you other examples which are worse than Romania, much worse than in treating with the minorities in Europe, but Belgium or other countries. But actually,
the Germans in Belgium are pretty proud of to be a Belgian citizen because of their semi-autonomous
I'm speaking
region.
about the Belgium in Belgium, and in Belgium we have a mixture of. But because we still have 3 minutes more, I liked your attitude and provoking our short discussion, because you are right, and I would like to live in that society you mentioned, and I have no problem. I don't believe you will steal Transylvania if we give you the right, several rights in plus. But at the same time, it is important to have a constructive approach also from the other side, and both sides to be constructive, because Finland and Sweden don't have the wounds so let's say fresh. They managed to clear this. They didn't start to have politicians at home in both countries accusing each other and so on. This is always coming back the nationalism, coming back so I think this is the issue. If both countries would be wise enough and
what is the recipe? What is the recipe? How to heal the wounds?
I think the recipe is exactly what we do now, to communicate. You to come in the talk show and speak open about it, your minister to come here, our ministers to go there, the neighborhood policy to be an instrument we can use to explain our people, I don't know, to have a moment of solidarity and communication, and explain to the people that history shouldn't divide us, it should unite us. So my feeling is that the politicians in our countries are still not prepared for that, to not use or get political capital from with national attitude. In Finland and Sweden, you don't see that.
Well, but even in Finland and Sweden, you can see, even especially in the last couple of months, confused about the future of Europe and the recent situation on how to deal with, for example, the migration on national level or European level. So, not because I'm a diplomat and a governmental agent, or how to say, a public servant, and I shouldn't blame any politician, but sometimes I really understand. I really understand what is going on between us and what are the different messages and which are the different target groups, well, which would be very important. And we are in a good position right now to get to know much better each other. I mean, even people to people, businessman to businessman, men of culture. There are many possibilities, and this is what we should use in the framework of the European Union, from European fronts and of private fronts, because we are really close to each other. So this would be interesting. I have a long list actually already to, I mean, having prepared on how to get to know each other much better, much more translation, much more public broadcast, and even more visits. We are very proud in Hungary. Just back to the economy, that Budapest is a booming touristical center because of the cheap flights. I mean, the Budapest airport is in a central position, and very many young tourists we have coming from all around Europe, because I mean it's easy to get to Budapest, and you really see that there is a boom, and there is a much better knowledge and much wider knowledge on the city and on the people, and the interaction is very visible on the streets of the cities. This is something that we should transform a bit easternmost through Transylvania till Bucharest to get on, because I mean the possibilities are really.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Given and huge.
And Budapest is a very beautiful town. I was there 5 times, and it's an extremely beautiful city with both Buda and Pesta. And I'm sure that through this kind of programs, you mentioned culture, you mentioned educational programs, tourism, I believe that both Romanians, I'm speaking now about the average Romanians, not the politicians, and Romanian citizens will understand that we have to live together, because it is a fact. We cannot move the border. We will not move in another part of the world.
Well, you don't have to convince me. This is my second time.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to convince me. I mean, this is my second time in Romania, in the capital of Romania.
Yes.
It's altogether is probably going to be 9 to 10 years, and I always felt familiar. And,
Yes,
and I mean, the hospitality is really national.
Now, please say something
issue.
nice about Romanians at the end. Give a nice message to the Romanians.
The most important message is based on trust. I mean, to trust each other, and don't exaggerate the so-called historical cleavages and clashes, and focus on reality. I mean, for the recent time and the future, and trust we need. I mean, trust in ourselves and trust in our neighbors and the people living together, because then we won't see any problem with waving different colors and different flags, because this is normal that we have different colors.
I agree with you. I am very grateful that you came to our talk show, Mr. Ambassador. We are waiting you for the full program. We're not satisfied with these 20 minutes. We will get you again for the full program, because Romania and Hungary have too many things in common to ignore each other, and that's why it's important for the Romanian citizens to see the Hungarian ambassador speaking to them about Hungary, about the relations, about the minority. It's no problem to assume we had different views. You had your view, my view, but at some point we need to come to a common view. And I appreciate very much your constructive messages as well. And hopefully we will see each other very soon. Maybe not when you'll be ambassador after 10 years. Maybe not.
Okay, then.
Maybe you'll be a minister. I don't know. But for the moment, I am very grateful, and I thank you for coming and participating.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much.